How much do you worry about money?
Oh, every night and day.
Hi, I'm Dylan, I'm 30, I'm an editor, actor, writer and photographer.
I'm Agnes, I'm a senior consultant in regulatory and risk.
My name is Nicole, I'm 24, I'm currently an actress, model and a business owner.
Hi, I'm Mike, one of the financial coaches at Claro. Today we'll be talking about the cost of living and I will be reacting to millennials' views on the current situation with the cost of living.
What is the current average salary in the UK?
I feel like on average, taking minimum wage and everything into account, I'd say probably 20 grand.
When I think about London, I'm thinking, could it be 28,000 for London and then 25 overall? I think I would say 25 to 30 within that bracket, yeah.
I want to say 60,000 a year. No, less, 40,000 a year.
So actually we're a little bit off there. So depending on the average that you want to look at, so if we look at the mean, for instance, where we just add up all of the salaries in a sample set and divide by the number of salaries, it's around £31,000 in the UK. However, that can be skewed a little bit because there's some outliers of particularly high earners with high salaries. So it's kind of agreed upon that the median, so just the middle value of a particular sample set of salaries, is more of a realistic example. And that's actually closer to £26,000 in the UK right now.
What is inflation?
I think inflation is basically when the price of items go up, and that's determined by the economic state of the country. Also politics can have an influence as well on it as well, so yeah.
Is the increase in cost in, I guess, living in general. So inflation with like gas and electric bills, prices of clothes, shops, travel, everything like that. I want to say that's right, but I could be so wrong.
When you have a lot of something and the value is essentially decreased.
Yeah, so inflation is basically the cost of goods or services increasing over a period of time. The most accurate measure of inflation that you might have seen floating around is Consumer Price Index, or CPI.
What do you think the current average salary in the UK should be based off the rate of inflation?
I think, I think at least should be looking at, well, 50,000 a year, I think, to live sort of comfortably. Usually when I was younger, I would think that was, a lot of money, but you think about how much rent is in London, bills, gas and electric alone's just gone up through the roof. I think the cheapest thing would be food, like groceries. I think that's probably pretty steady, but as well travel, just to get to work in general, it just takes such a cut out of your pay. So I think 50,000 to live comfortably.
Given the cost of everything as well, and also based on inflation, as you say, I would say maybe at least 40, because some people are making like below £5 an hour for some things, and the fact that bills and the cost of living has increased, it's like you have to work some insane hours just to keep up with that.
I do think that salaries should increase as inflation increases, because that makes sense. In London especially, where things are much more expensive, I think the average salary should be, I'm gonna think I'm mad, but at least 40,000. Yeah, 40,000.
So this is a bit of a tricky one. So it depends on what angle we take here. Let's take, for instance, the rate of inflation. So the Bank of England's target at any given time is usually about 2%. So if we were to look back at your salary from this time last year, for instance, or at any point look back a year from then, if your salary hasn't increased by the rate of inflation at that time, then it can be a good idea to just be aware of that, because technically you will be losing buying power from the salary if it remains stagnant.
What does the term cost of living mean?
The cost of being able to survive and function in a capitalist society in wherever you're living, basically.
Is in the name. Cost of living is how much it costs to stay alive. That's what I say to myself. I think if you think of it as the cost of the necessity, then it's basically, let's say, your mortgage or your rent, food, the basics of your needs. That's what it means.
So as I understand it, it means the cost to live, to survive. I think, mostly you're looking at your house, your home, where you live, food, putting food on the table for you and your family, traveling, if you would like to travel, well, just traveling in the country in general. So whether that's, a car or getting public transport. I think they're probably the the three sort of main ones. I'm probably forgetting health as well, but we are quite lucky to have the NHS.
Yeah, so 100% right. So the cost of living is basically the price of the basic necessities to live a reasonable standard of living in the UK.
Why does the cost of living keep increasing?
I think a lot of things is involved. Inflation is like the key driver into the cost of living going up. Also because, you know, the current economic and political climate that we're in, certain things are affecting the cost of living going up as well. So yeah, I think inflation drives that to go up.
COVID has had a huge influence on this in the last, well, however many years COVID's been going now and continues to go. Population, I think that's got something to do with it as well.
I think it's a combination between inflation and, as I was saying, like just, you know, people kind of trying to make a profit.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a number of reasons why the cost of living is increasing, but essentially it all boils down to the fact that demand is essentially outstripping supply. There's a number of reasons for that. For instance, shipping costs, manufacturing costs, the fact that there was such a big demand throughout COVID and we haven't quite got out of that. At the same time as the fact that salaries and wages haven't quite increased at the same rate. So all of the prices that exist in terms of inflation, so the price that it costs for this standard of living is increasing, and the amount that we have to pay for that standard of living is not.
How much do you worry about money?
I worry about money a lot. I would say pretty much all the time. I'm a bit of a worrier anyways. I think because I live quite a spontaneous life, and I think that, you know, I don't always necessarily have that money sat there to be secure, because I do believe in living in the moment and, you know, taking opportunities while you can.
I worry in the sense of I don't want to screw anyone over, and I want to make sure that I'm not letting anyone in my circle down by adding another financial cost to them. But at the same time, I mellow it out by being, it is what it is. Sometimes I'm going to make some, sometimes I'm going to lose some.
Oh, every night and day. I worry about money every day I get paid. I think I've learned not to worry about it any other day. I think for me, because I'm quite a budgeter, I look at what I plan ahead, but I also review my budget every time I get paid, just to make sure that I'm on track, but also to move things around if I need to.
So really, really common, and unfortunately we are in a bit of a sticky situation where financial worries are, for a lot of people, becoming worse and worse and worse. But a lot of this worry comes from the feeling of not having control over your finances, and there are ways that we can take control. For instance, the fact that energy prices have increased recently, although that is absolutely true, they are still based on the unit rate of your energy and the daily charge, so basically your usage. So you still have an element of control to be ultra conservative if you want to be, and minimize those bills. If, for instance, you've got credit card debt, then there are options to sometimes do a balance transfer to a 0% period credit card. You can again take control and make sure that you are minimizing your expenses. If you are a freelancer and you have variable income, quite often we can dive deep into the budgets, and if you can work off of a realistic worst case scenario, for instance, and make sure that bills are paid, savings goals are met from your worst months, then anything above that is going to be a benefit. If you work off of your average month, for instance, then all you are doing is guaranteeing that some of those months are going to be more of a struggle than they need to be. So that's been the Millennial Views on the cost of living. It's always a really interesting topic. If you have any questions or thoughts yourself, please do feel free to pop a comment in the boxes below, and we'll see you again soon.